Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for coming to this, the annual dinner of the Crash Dummies Association. I would like to thank the cooks. Even though they might have broken arms and legs, they still managed to make some pretty decent food. I've had a lot of bumps and bruises in my short life, too. My friends and I are always thinking up some awesomely insane ideas, like going to Walmart at 2 a.m. But most of the time, they wouldn't be the kinds of things that you would do if you actually thought through the plan of action before you did it. Most of the time people learn from their mistakes, but in some cases, like mine, they don't. First, I'm going to tell you the absolute stupidest things I have ever done. And then I'm going to talk about how I either did or didn't learn from them. And finally, I'll tell you how you can learn from my mistakes. So, first story, it was my freshman year, and it was right after the FFA banquet, which was in May, I'm pretty sure. We had just gotten to Kyle Hinkle's house, and somebody had the absolute fantastic idea of getting a lead rope from the back of Dion's truck and tying people up with it, and that was pretty funny because we tied Riley up and then knocked him over, and he couldn't get back up, which was really funny. And then somebody had the great idea of slingshotting people across the machine shed. So two people would hold the lead rope, one on either end, and then there'd be a person about 4 feet away to catch the person that was flying, and the person that was flying would back up into the lead rope, and the two people would pull it tight, and the person would go flying and get caught. So after I watched about 4 people do it, I decided it was my turn.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, I got this, guys. This is going to be awesome. And I backed up into the lead rope, and they snapped it, and I'm like, whoo, this is fun. Oh, hey, a rock. I'm going to eat it. And I did a flip, and I landed, and I jumped up, giggling out of embarrassment and my adrenaline rush. And right after the adrenaline wore off, I realized, oh, I'm bleeding a lot. And I looked down, and all of a sudden there was this huge hole in my knee, and I was so upset because it was my favorite jeans, and I think I was actually more upset about ripping the jeans than I was that my knee was bleeding like a stuck hog. I apparently didn't learn my lesson from that one, because right after sophomore year, the day after sophomore year ended, first day of summer, first day of freedom, I decided I wanted to go swimming in a creek with Dion. We were going to go meet some friends. We went down the gravel road to the creek. When we got there, we got in the creek and we were swimming, and all of a sudden we got dared to jump off the bridge that we had just driven over to get to the creek. And the bridge was over top of the creek, and at first I was like, oh, I don't think so. That is not happening. But after about 10 minutes of looking, making sure that there was a good deep hole, I was like, oh, that might be a little bit fun. I think I'm gonna try that. So I jumped off, and I jumped in the water, and it was really fun, and we kept jumping. And then this one time I thought, oh, I'm gonna do this really cool flip thing, and I'm gonna land, and it's gonna be cool. And so I got up there, and I was sitting on the railing, and all of a sudden I fall. And I don't know why, and I'm thinking, crap. And I land on my stomach, and I'm like, okay, I think somebody just pushed me, but I don't know. and I didn't even have time to plug my nose. I was so upset. So I got out of the water, and by that time, I was done. I was done swimming. I was done jumping off the bridge. It felt like I landed on concrete, and it was horrible. I definitely learned from that one. No more bridge diving for me. The way that you guys can learn from this is by definitely thinking through the plan of action of your guys' stupidly awesome ideas, because most of the time it's not worth getting hurt. So now I've told you my dumbest stories, and I've talked about how I did or did not learn from them, and finally I talked about how you can learn from my mistakes. Most of the time people learn from their mistakes, but in some cases, like mine, they don't. My friends and I are always thinking of some awesome ideas, but you gotta think through them before you actually do them.
Awesome. Very good.